Hello and welcome to the video. This video is all about how you install servos into a wing. This is a Dolphin V1. I absolutely love the Dolphin. This one has been in foam for about 4 years. This was the foam that I bought as spares for the first one that I've been flying, and touch wood, it's been absolutely fine. It survives crashes incredibly well. You just need a little bit of Yoo-hoo pour or a little bit of hot glue and you can get it all back together. So I thought, you know what, let's put this together. But what that means is that I'm just about to install the servos into the underside of the wing. The wing's all built, I've glued all the pieces on, because again, this was a foam kit, so it literally comes completely unassembled. And it's an opportunity for me to show how you install a servo in a wing. The reason I'm making this is because I've had a few pilots who are coming in to fix wing from Quadland who might have a kit like this and be looking at what do I do with a servo, having not really played with servos before and feeling a little bit out of their depth. So if you are that kind of person, or maybe you just haven't installed a servo into a wing, or maybe you're replacing a servo that's gone bad, happens all the time, then this video is definitely for you, aimed at those of you that are pretty new. Now, the servos that I'm going to be using in this are these Emax ES08MD2s. I absolutely love these servos. These are my go-tos. They are the standard 9-gram size, so they're going to fit beautifully into the recess on the underside of this wing, and they are going to fit and work great. The reason that I like these ES08MD2s is a couple of things. First of all, is the quality of them is very good. Do not skimp on the quality of your servos. They are the muscles of your model. So getting cheap and cheerful ones, you know, a bag of 5 for a couple of dollars from eBay, those are not going to survive any kind of crashes. They tend to be things like this Emax servo, stronger, more reliable, and because they have metal gears, in the event of a crash, then the gears aren't going to be stripped. And actually my original Dolphin that came with plastic geared servos, one of them got stripped in a crash and I had to replace them. I actually replaced them with these same servos. They're just really good. So let me go on the bench, take you through every single step, and we'll actually install the servos into these wings. Big pro tip before we get too far, there's going to be lots of pro tips. Exercise the control surface before you connect the servo. Things like this Dolphin have a pretty cheap and cheerful, what's called a foam hinge. If you exercise those, they are going to be looser, and that's going to mean they're easier to move and the servo is going to work better. But on the bench, let's set it up. So the first thing I'd recommend that we do is to test the servo is healthy and to center it as well. The output shaft is going to move from one side to the other. It's going to rotate in either direction as we change the pulse width modulation value between 1000 and 2000. Now, when you're playing with planes, I would recommend that you get a handful of tools which will help you immensely in getting this stuff set up. This is a little servo tester. I would recommend that you get one with a little display like this. It runs off a little 5-volt power supply. If I kind of just plug it in, we can see the actual numbers on here. If I just turn the light off, you can probably, there we go, the refresh rate will change on the camera. You can see it. We can go down to 800. We can go all the way up to 2200. But we can actually set it to 1500. That's the middle position, and we need to check that. So what we're going to do before we go any further is test the servo. Oh, other couple of things we're going to need. Going to need a little bit of glue to put it in at the very end. That is the last step. We're going to need whichever push rod it comes with the kit. This is the bit that's going to connect the control surface up to the servo that's going to sit in here. And then we have the servo horns. We'll use the basic one. Nice servos like this tend to come with lots of different ones in the packet, but we're not quite there yet. Let's just check that this thing actually fits in the slot. I know it already does, but you know what? It's always kind of worth checking. Just double check that it's going to fit. Usually can tell the way round it's going to fit in because the channel for the servo cable is going to be at one side or the other. So we can see here that it's going to go and it's going to fit beautifully. Now, this is the weird thing with this, is that although this is an Emax servo that weighs more than 9 grams, and that's because it's a high quality digital servo that also has metal gears which will be harder to strip. It's still the same physical size, it just weighs a little bit more. So now we've got that bit out of the way, let's test this little thing. So we're going to plug it into the servo checker and we're going to just check that it goes to 1500. Feels like it was like that from the factory. We didn't have any movement. We're going to exercise it, and we're going to check that it's okay. So we're going to go and select the servo checker to go from one value to the other. And we're listening for any crunching, grinding noises. That feels absolutely great. If I just grab the output shaft and try and stop it, it's easily got enough torque to kind of twist it against my fingers. But crucially, the output shaft isn't slipping, so that means that there's no teeth or anything broke on the inside. Cheaper servos need to be checked like this. Using something like these Emax ES08MD Mark IIs, it should be absolutely fine, but it absolutely pays to check that the servo is okay straight out of the box. I typically would exercise them for, 30 seconds to a minute and just make sure they're still tickety-boo, but that looks great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it to 1500, the middle channel value, and then unplug it from the servo checker, because for now we can probably get away without needing that. Now we know it's 1500 and that we know it's going to fit in here like this, we can actually connect the output shaft or the horn to the output shaft. And again, there's lots of different types in here. The stuff that you're going to get in the box, you've got these extra connectors. We don't need those servo horns. Those are for different things. We're going to need this little one here. Of the bits that come with it, the two little black screws that are here are going to actually be used to screw that in to the output shaft. We're definitely going to need to use those. There's two, again, quality piece of kit, so you actually get a spare, and you get some screws here that you can screw the servo using these little holes at the side into any balsa wood setup, which we don't have here, so we're not going to need those either. So let's move everything that we don't need out the way for now, and we're going to have to install the servo horn as close to 90 degrees as we can. That's pretty close, actually. That's not bad. We're going to push it on all the way. We're going to pop the screw into position. We'll just grab a little screwdriver and we'll just gently tighten this little screw in here, and it'll cinch everything down. We're not going to go mad, but this is just to stop the arm walking back off. Now we've got that, we can see it isn't exactly 90 degrees. That isn't a disaster. We can sort that out in a minute. So now we know that that's the case. The next thing we need to do then is test fit it into the slot and install this rod that's going to take the rotary movement from the output shaft of the servo into the control surface. Again, we need to exercise this as much as you can past its limits on something like this, so that when we actually use it, it's going to be fine. The way it works with this particular one is it's actually quite nice. There's a little ball joint, and we have a screw and a little nylon nut that's part of it. So what we're going to do, we're just going to connect this up. We're going to push it into place, push the screw through everything, put the nylon nut on the other side, and then we'll just do it up. This is where it pays to have all the tools on the bench handy. So we're just going to tighten it up. We're not going to cinch it down, so we're trying to crush everything, because the actual output shaft itself is going to rotate on the little brass bearing. So there we go. That is good to me. So what we're going to do is we will just test fit this into position. I'm not going to glue anything or any of that shenanigans at the moment. We'll just push it in, and what we're going to do is we're going to see how far away that is, if the control length is the right length. So if we kind of match it up where the holes are in the outputs, the actual control itself is almost level with the back. That looks actually really good. Now, if it was too long, we would screw it in to shorten it. If it was too short, we would do it anti-clockwise to unscrew it out of this.
But actually, because this is a half decent kit, that doesn't look like a terrible position. That looks like it's pretty spot on. I reckon by the time we've tweaked it and we've got it exactly at 90 degrees, that's going to be in the right position. So that's good. The next thing to do then is, as you can see on the servo, we actually have a number of holes that we can connect it to. And ideally what we want is we want to preserve the maximum amount of movement on the servo as it swings from the position it will be at from 1000 to 2000 microseconds. But we don't want to overdrive the output so that we have to then reduce that in something like iNav or EdgeTX or something else. Now, the way that I would do this is, if I'm not sure, I mean, I already know the answer, right? Because I've done this a couple of times. However, if I'm not sure, I would plug it in. We're going to grab our servo checker again. We're going to plug it in. We're going to stick this in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to set the servo to swing to its maximum position, which I would say is about 2000. And we're going to have a look at where that is on the wing. Hopefully you can kind of see that it's just stuck out. And that means that if I deflect the control surface so that that is going to be okay, I think the middle horn is probably the one we're going to need. That deflection is probably going to be the maximum we will need. So I would say that we'll go for the middle horn. The way this works is that if we want more deflection from the control surface, we go closer in on this side and further out on this side. Similarly, if you want to go the other way around, if the control's moving way too much, then I would fix it mechanically by going further out on this side and further in on this side. At the moment, that is probably about as close as I can get. Now the next thing to do, and there's loads of different ways to do it, you can see that this just has like a Z bend on it. It's not particularly smart. This is the last bit of kit that I would recommend that you have. A little pin vise with a little drill at the top. This is one that I use all the time. Let me just unplug that from the servo checker because we don't want to have it under load. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put it into that second hole, and we're going to very gently ream it out. And we just want to get it big enough because the holes on the servo's arms are more designed for screws rather than these kind of Z bends. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this because there's little bits of plastic coming off. But I'm trying to make that second hole a little bit bigger because what we want it to be able to do is to slide over that Z bend. Not quite there yet. Just take your time because you don't want it to be sloppy and loose. You just want it to kind of go on, be push fit. So I'm just going to push it. There it goes, nearly into my finger, which is the standard way you tend to do it. We'll swing it round into position. And you can see that that is nice. It's not loose, but it's free moving. Okay, so now what we can do is let's press fit that back into position. We'll plug it into the servo checker one last time. I would recommend that we have it on manual and we put it to close to 1500. Let's plug it back in. And what we'll do is we will move the servo checker until that angle between this push rod and that output shaft is at exactly 90 degrees, which kind of looks by eye to be about there. And that means that the value that I'm going to need to put in my receiver or my flight control software is 1509. So we're very close to the middle channel value. That's great. Let me unplug that. The other thing is, now, if the control surface, as you can see here, it's actually perfectly aligned. And again, because this control rod out the pack is perfect by this Atom RC. If it wasn't, then I would just undo this piece here and just unscrew or screw in using this little threaded part of the bar just to get that perfectly aligned. But I'm really happy with that. That looks great. So now we have all the hard work done. The very last step is what I'm going to do. I'm going to reach for my Yoo-hoo paw. I'm going to put a little bit in the bottom. I'm not going to go mad because it's, you know, at some point I might want to get this out in the future if I decide to change my mind or something happens to the servo. I would also, these are pretty good. Some servos you tend to find are covered in oil that's leaked out the outside. You can take the sticker off if you're worried about it. I find these stickers are really well stuck down. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to feed that in, press it into the glue, run my fingernail along here just to get the cable into place, and now that servo is installed. We know what the middle channel position is, we know that the control linkage is working properly, that the alignment's all good. We just need to sit that to one side, give it 12 hours for the glue to go off thoroughly, and then we're ready to actually use it in anger. Hopefully that's been interesting for those of you that have never set up something like a servo into a wing or replaced a servo. That's the trick. I would recommend exercise it first, make sure that it's okay, then check it fits, make sure that everything is going to fit, that you're going to have no problems at all. Install your linkages. Once it's at 1500, just finesse everything so that everything lines up. The last thing is that I see lots of people particularly when they come into fixed wing, if the outputs are being way overdriven and this control surface is moving way too much, and you know how much it's going to move because that's typically in the manual that you have, they will then reduce the throws either in ArduPilot, iNav, or in EdgeTX. My advice would be fix it mechanically first using the things we talked about, using the outer or inner holes to get the maximum amount of movement for the movement of the servo, so that the tweaking that you have to do on the radio or in iNav or ArduPilot is the smallest amount. That way you'll preserve the granularity and movement of the servo and actually have a much better flying model with better fine control. Thank you for watching my video. Check out the playlist, and adding Pedantry 60 to your search terms will help you find my content. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. You can support the time I spend here answering questions and helping others by using the links in the video description.